we all know AJ's background. We know what he studied in college, and sometimes when you leak stuff out like this, maybe it puts more pressure to change things that way. So he's a very calculated person. Even though
Yeah.
he's frustrated times, he's a very calculated person too. So
We got Chris Franklin in the green room. Let's bring up our boy Chris Franklin right now. He joins us here. You can follow him at C Franklin News. Read his work at NJ.com. Chris, welcome into a Thursday edition of Birds 365. There's a lot to talk about in Eagle Land, my friend.
hey guys, yeah, it's a little different this week. There's some topic that keeps popping up over and over again. I don't know
Yeah,
what it is.
it's not the first time. And we've seen we go through this and at least a couple times, but AJ comes back and he says, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that. And we all go back but to me, the offense isn't changing. What did you take of the latest AJ Brown dust up? And obviously he's frustrated. I don't blame him. I don't think you blame him. I don't think anybody blames him. But how do you fix it when you play the way the Eagles play?
There's some little fixes. I think there are some little fixes that the offense can do. There's some little fixes I think Jalen can do. There's little fixes I think AJ can do. It's an all encompassing thing. And I don't fault him in the fact that where it seems like it's like Groundhog Day at times with this, where you see the same thing happening over and over again. You just like you're living the 2023. I know it was not the 2023 season exactly, but it's almost like he's reliving it all over again. Like, why during the collapse? Why can't we get this thing moving? And it's just got to the point where just like this, he doesn't want to see it happen all over again, and then to the point where he's dealing with the stuff and everything else. Like there are little schematic things they can do, and you don't. I'm not talking about completely changing the offense, but there are little things they can do to try to get him open a little bit more. And you're looking up this matchup coming up this week, where he's probably facing Patrick Surtain, and you're looking at a defense that really pressures the quarterback very well. There's going to be an increase. Let's just say I wouldn't be surprised if CBS keeps that camera on the sideline focused on him to try to see if they can find something.
Yeah,
If they're smart, they will. If they're smart, they will.
They will. Chris, I obviously the firestorm created what it created, but I think in a way it's probably not most preferred method, but in a way, is it leadership to have a player who has a C on his chest and you're 4-0, and many people might not want to look at the problems, right? Because you're 4-0, right? Hey, we're 4-0. We don't need to change anything. But here's AJ saying, guys, we're the 31st ranked offense. We got to be better than this. And again, people will argue that he didn't do it the right way. That's perfectly fine. People can think what they want to think about that. But is it leadership to try and get the most out of your players on offense? I think it is in a way. Maybe not the right way to go about it, but what do you think about that element of it? I think he's pushing the team to be better, Chris.
Remember how we were talking about when it came to CJ Gardner-Johnson when he was leaving on the defensive side? Like you need that guy, that wild card, that spark. I think that's what AJ is on this offense. And
well, I don't want to make that comparison.
well, not the point where you're looking like, what is he doing? Like blowing things up. No, not like that. But in the fact that you need the vocal guy, like what. And we hear so many times about when it comes to leadership, there's leadership by doing, leadership by saying. Well, when you look at the when you look at it mostly on that offensive side, there's not that many like the say what's on their mind type guys out, at least to the public itself, or at least trying to motivate guys. Behind the scenes, probably like a couple guys are, hey, we need to do better, but to try to motivate them. And we all know AJ's background. We know what he studied in college, and sometimes when you leak stuff out like this, maybe it puts more pressure to change things that way. So he's a very calculated person. Even though he's frustrated times, he's a very calculated person too. So
I agree.
Yeah.
Do you think it will work?
Right. That's the real question.
And I don't think it's working. I mean, this team is emboldened by the way they play. And they should be, by the way. 20 of 21, Chris.
Yeah.
It hasn't happened too much in the history of this game.
They're bread and butter. Like each season's identity, but we already know what their identity is. They're going to want to run the ball. They want to go to be physical, and they want to try, and then they'll use the run to try to set the pass. Well, this is probably one of the rare years where I think it's one of the things where you can use the pass, set the run, because we look at the way the run game's going so far. And when you look at it, when you look at this, the passing game overall, you look at what this team's trying to do. I just wish they put him more in spots and you try to mix up some of these looks and make the adjustments quicker than what you're seeing. Because we know that they have the ability to make some changes. We saw in the Rams game, they struggled. And the next thing you know, they changed the whole entire philosophy. They try to let it go. And then we saw what happens. But then you look at the ways they start out and they don't change what happens. So some of it's game planning. And this is what happens when you have a new first-time coordinator. It takes a while for them to get into the flow and try to set things up. But with this amount of offense, this amount of talent they have in there, it needs to get done quicker or sooner because, and the best thing for them is they have this stretch of games where you can get it corrected because that was a tough schedule early, so that wasn't the best situation to go. Okay, here's the play sheet, call the plays right away. All right, this is going to be tough there.
I wonder if Eagles feel there's anything to correct. I know AJ does, but does Nick and the Eagles?
Well, some of the things are when it comes to the ball has to get out quicker. I think I think when you look at some of the route concepts and the bunching around, there's been too many times where you have guys in the same area, or there's guys when you look at the route combinations, you're like, okay, I see what you're doing there, but it has to be switched up a little bit more because teams are starting to key on that as well too. And then you need to correct this, especially the interior run game. You need to correct that because teams are starting to key. Okay, you're doing well. I know they broke off that one run with Barkley on the cutback on the inside, but most teams are keying. They're doing a very good job of setting that edge and stopping it. But you can't when you go that power run game in the middle with the defensive tackles. It's not really working that well. So there's some things there you can follow it up and just need to attack. I think they need to attack more downfield, not just going go balls over time.
Go balls, baby. Go balls.
You saw what happened when you try go balls all the time. You become Russell Wilson all the time. You see what Russell Wilson does, and that doesn't work that way. So there's ways to do it. The offensive line needs to give more consistent pressure because I think, especially when you look at what the Broncos are going to do, when they play basically three cover zero when they're going to blitz the hell out of you, cover one, and then cover three. And cover three, you can get AJ. This is a game where you could, if you give them time, AJ can really pick them apart. Even if Surtain's on them, because you can do those deep crossers work really well with cover three, and I think you can do that. But you need to give the offensive line needs to give them time. And I know we talk about Saquon and his running and his ability to do very well running the ball. He has to be a better pass blocker. He has to.
Yes. Well, he was a little bit better, I think, but he had been poor. Those first 3 games were difficult from a blitz pickup perspective. I think he was a little bit better in Tampa. And hopefully that continues. But you're right. He struggled in that aspect early in the season. You know, one of the things, the squeaky wheel, right? It always gets the oil. Has anyone noticed Devontae Smith gets less targets than A.J. Brown? Anyone? I mean, he's not getting the ball either. And Devontae is just, obviously, he's a quieter person. He's going to handle things in a different way. But I don't think he's happy either. I don't think anybody's happy. Are we getting to that point? I hate the 2023 comparison, except for this, because 2023 collapse was about the defense. Kelsey just said that. I heard him say it today. Like we're the worst defense in the NFL. And he did say, we didn't pick up the blitz well either, but so that's not going to happen because Vic is here and the defense is going to be good. It's just a matter of how good. So I don't like the comparison from that standpoint. Where I like the comparison is, if you remember, everyone said how miserable they were during that season. Like it was the most miserable 10-1 team in history. They weren't having any fun. That's where Nick came up. You got to have joy in winning. I get the feeling they're back to that. They have no joy in winning. They're like stormtroopers at this point. They just go in, they take it over, they win, they get out, but they're miserable. They go home, they take off their stormtrooper outfit, and they're like, this sucks. That's how I get the feeling. I do. They're not happy. So that's all it comes down to.
I would say if Jalen's accuracy, his completion rate was awful, we say you really say he's a stormtrooper, but on top of that. But it's one of those things where I look and like, it's got to the point where they win so often. I think it takes the fun out of it, and not
It's
to
a
use
burden.
another.
It's a burden, that much success.
It's not apples to apples, but remember in the '80s, like watching the movie Miracle and watching like the story of the Soviets back in the '80s when they were really running. They were shocked when they got beat. They were looking like, wow, people are having fun again doing this. It's gotten so business-like to the way they find wins and
Yeah, that's
everything
a
else.
good
It's like
comp. The
Yeah,
Russian hockey team, man.
and it is a good comp.
they were just sitting there like they looked in amazement when everybody's winning. It's like, wow, because they were a machine. They were winning all these games. They were
Yeah,
beating NHL teams and everything else.
yeah.
And it comes business like, and that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying winning's a bad thing. It's just because when you get so used to it and everything, you get so used to it, you just go anything else like, okay, it's mundane. I'm not saying they should lose either. It's just a matter of trying to find ways to just make it fresh and really just enjoying what you're doing, and that can be tough because you get so used to it. So it's heavy lies the crowd, I guess, in terms of like, okay, well, you're doing very well, so it's like, all right, this is like, you wanted to keep it this way, but this is where leadership, coaching, and each player as a man looks himself and go, okay, I'm just going to do my job business like and try to find ways to just do what I can do and enjoy it and enjoy this run because it's very rare you see teams like this have runs like this, so it's becomes mundane.
Have they taken on, and speaking of, because we haven't talked about this yet, so I'll talk about it with you. Jalen Hurts also spoke yesterday. I was in the locker room, but Ed was there. So, I mean, but I got the transcript from after the press conference. My God. So, the first question was about the second half. It wasn't even about OJ, but I want to read you this answer. From a macro perspective, I see it as a great opportunity. The negatives and turn into positives, then build on the positives. It takes true synchronization. What the fuck? This guy's a robot at this point. What are we doing here? And then when he was asked about AJ, he basically, did you see the AJ social post after the game? Obviously he did. He grunted a yes. And then he says, I'm not going to analyze or speculate it. I think he's always willing to contribute. And that remains. Everybody's focused on trying to get better. Everybody's present here trying to improve. He's a robot.
I think it's when it's talking to the media, there's certain ways, like, and we've seen these in these videos and people had lives and stuff like that and doing other things. When he talks to the media, like in controlled situations like that, that's when you get a robot. And then when you see when he talks to everybody else, it's like, that's the same Jalen? Like this time, like, what was it, the Maria Taylor thing? Like when he was talking to, I think it was Sick or whatever, he comes in, he's actually
Oh,
like,
yeah.
he's opening that. So you see that there's two sides. I think
Yeah,
the
you
same
saw it
is
with
starting to
Pam
come that way
You
too.
saw it with Pam Oliver after the Rams win.
Yeah. So I think he finds ways to make it Saban-esque when it talks that, because that one, I was trying to decipher that at first. It took me a couple of times. I was watching the clip, like, all right, so he parsing this one to like, he's trying to do like a
True
30,000 view and all that stuff.
synchronization. He's throwing out macro perspective. He sounds like me. True synchronization. Yeah, I efficient football when we've had these lulls, yada yada yada. Now I know why people get tired of listening to me, but from the standpoint, I'm not the leader of the team. He's the leader of the team. I always say everything has a shelf life. I think the way he handles things may be nearing the end of the shelf life. I think there's got to be an involvement from that standpoint. Agree or disagree?
I think behind the scenes, at least from what I've heard and seen from history and everything else, yeah, it's a different jail. So I think when it comes to outside is where it's like, okay, we're tired of hearing the same things over and over again, like giving insight, like gives more insight. I think that comes in a little bit more, but until his team goes through a prolonged losing streak, and I don't mean just like the collapse, but they don't make the playoffs and anything else, and the pressure really turns on him to if unless the team really stops winning, what happens to, it's going to keep moving on. He's going to be the same him. I mean, why at this point? Why change? Why change it right now? You got to tweak some things, but why make a full stop change? Because if you're winning, who cares? You could be like Cam Ward. We're looking at Cam Ward. I know he's a rookie, but the way he's going right now, he's saying everything like, we're playing like, you playing like this, we're awful.
What do you say? We're ass.
Yeah,
That was hilarious.
Nice to have it. Nice to have that.
Like, no way.
Yeah.
We ass. I was like, what?
I said, it's like, you can be like that. You can mosh them, but until you're playing and you're backing it up, you must have, unless you gotten a big buy-in from your veterans and everybody's going like that. As a rookie, you're saying that?
Yeah.
Huevos.
Yeah. It's just an interesting. I mean, the bottom line is they're a 4-0 team, and it does have that. That's the only feel I get from 2023. The only similar feel is like they just seem like. And Tim asked the question. Tim McManus asked the question about joy because Nick brought it up, and Tim apologized afterwards because Nick spent 15 minutes answering the question. He did one of those soliloquies on it, but I do get the feeling that the joy is gone again. I'm not sure what that means.
Chris, it's Soviet point, man.
Yeah.
Gold medals in 64, 68, 72, whatever it was, 72, 76, until there was no joy left.
And that's the kind of, and I that's so intangible. But I do think it's missing. And it's missing because even though style points don't matter, even the players want style points.
Yeah.
And they're not getting them.
Yeah.
And when you look at like offense, we talk about the offense and everything else. If this was the college football, the BCS, you'd worry about it, but you don't have to. I mean, look at the way the Patriots were back when they were in their dynasty mode and everything else. Not that the Eagles are in a dynasty right now, but I'm saying when they're going to look at that way, when we were hearing the Patriot way and everything else, how many of the players that left it afterwards were like, well, it's boring.
Chris Long used to talk about that all the time. It's like
it got them rings and it got them wins. So sometimes what's best for you, it may not be the most flashy or what have you, but sometimes the base stuff that works, you roll with it, you get wins because that leads to if you're trying to get to the players mindset, well, you keep winning, you get your endorsements, you get your money and everything else. That may sound good. All right, cool. So you may have to go for the boring stuff to get to the stuff you really want to in order to have to be successful.
You mentioned endorsements. I meant to bring this up. I haven't brought this up. I swear to God, every time I open my inbox, Saquon's got another endorsement. Yesterday it was Beats ads. Him and Justin Jefferson, Jaden Daniels, Beats. Literally yesterday. This guy's got so many endorsements. I don't fault him. I mean,
Jalen Hurts. I mean, that's where I wonder if the human element of it a little bit does come into play. Jalen doesn't care; they keep winning, but AJ's like, I don't know, maybe not as satisfied. I think people leave out that human stuff. Like AJ should only care about the Eagles going 1-0. It's like, all right, a fan, yeah, you're going to think that, but to think that a player who's worked his ass off his entire life to become one of the best receivers in football isn't going to care about any personal accolades or personal accomplishments, in my opinion, is naive.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, AJ and Saquon, they're Hall of Fame level players.
That's what I mean.
And the only way you get that gold jacket is numbers, awards, all pros, yada yada yada. That's how you get it. And it matters. It definitely matters. Coaching staff, it doesn't matter at all, to be blunt. I shouldn't say that because, and I told this story yesterday on the show, Chris. I was like, when they're running out the clock, it's not a big deal, but I brought this up. When they're running out the clock, 6 seconds, and they let Braden Mann go out of the back of the end zone, I'm like, the guy he has no experience. It's not a big deal because who can't run out of the back of the end? You just got to make sure you waste the 6 seconds before you do it. But I'm like, Jalen Hurts could do that in his sleep. Who's better with the ball in his hands than Jalen Hurts? And you even saw Jalen Hurts talking to the coach, like, what are we doing? Let me run out the clock, basically. And, so I was just, asked a couple of guys, and it was they didn't want the negative 32 or 34 yards on Jalen's stat sheet because he had a great day running the football. And afterwards, if 9, I think he had 9 carries for 62 yards, turns into 10 carries for 28 yards, you're going to have some Yahoo who didn't watch the game, doesn't know the context. Oh, Jalen Hurts can't run the ball 2 yards, 8 yards there. So even that matters, little stuff like that. And they had that in their head. So even though it's not important, it matters, which is another difficulty of coaching in the NFL. It shouldn't matter, but it does.
Right. And I agreed with that decision because also I know you say you want to have the ball, the quarterback's so used to it. It kind of gives you a head start having the punter out there who's used to being that far back, who can, if there is a fumble, is shooting back that way, he can pick it up, and then you take the penalty for batting the ball
the
out.
strategy. But the reason it wasn't even the strategy, because you can argue that that's a good point, but it wasn't even. It was about they didn't want him losing the 32 yards, and poor Braden Mann is going to be the worst rushing punter in NFL history when it's all said and done. But to the point of statistics, they don't matter at all, but yet they do matter, which is a difficult sort of thing to navigate. And that's kind of the problem they have.
Yeah. When you're looking at legacy now, because a lot of these guys, when you're winning as much as they are, as much as they say, no, we're focused on one thing, you got to know about some of the stuff. Like, they got to know something. And you got to be cognizant because the stats are part of your legacy. And Nick's protecting them now. Nick's doing the best thing when it comes to just making sure they win. But you're right. Like, a lot of these times, stats wise, and that's why I think AJ is playing a little bit into AJ as well too. Because when you look at errors, you look at the players on this team, and you look at each year, and you can go like, okay, well, maybe I'm trying to think of the Patriots. Well, like when they had Welker and Edelman or whatever, they had down year, what have you, besides injuries. But you want to be known as the guy, like, wow, he really contributed. Like, wow, this is the one part there. You don't want to just be like, well, it's Jalen, Saquon, defense. You want your name as part of it, even if it's like a sentence or whatever. You want your name part of it, not in so like you really contributed. That's why I think it played a role. But yeah, I think they're cognizant. A lot of these guys are cognizant of where they are as part of this run and where they want their name to be in history when it's all said and done.
Yeah, especially Hall of Fame level players.
Yeah, 100%. Chris, I want to talk about Nakobe Dean, man. They opened up the practice window, coming back. How do you see it? I don't want to pollute my thought. How do you see Nakobe Dean return to the lineup?
I'm looking forward to it. And I heard right before you guys are talking about in terms of when it comes to Vic and what he calls his guys, I could see Vic being the biggest semantics guy ever when it comes to that.
But it's not semantics though in his mind, because like I called Cooper a cornerback, and I said, have you ever had a better tackling cornerback in your, because Vic's been around for a while, and he immediately corrected me. He was like, well, he's playing slot, which I'm right. I knew I broke Vic's rule. I knew it as soon as he said it, because in his mind, it's not a cornerback. It's a different position. And the same thing when I give it that example of the, can 3 linebackers be on the field? Maybe by your labeling system, but not by his, because if Zach Bond's playing edge rusher, he's playing edge rusher. If Jihaad Campbell's playing edge rusher, he's playing edge rusher. He's not playing linebacker because the roster says he's a linebacker. So Vic's right, but I think a lot of people, the other side is playing the semantics. They're saying, well, it says he's a linebacker. That's semantics, Chris. When he's not playing linebacker on the field, which
he's
is
playing Jack. He's only the Jack. Yeah, no, he's only the Jack. I don't know. But this plays very well into the I can't wait to see with Campbell, Dean, and Bond behind them, and then you have the regular line there, because if it's like a 3-3-5 look per se, this is almost similar to what I know Vic's is 3-4, but it's close. You can do so much. And then when it comes to, you see the issues they have with rushing the passer. the blitz looks you can do. We know how well Nakobe can blitz up those A and B gaps. We know Bond and Campbell can rush off the edge. We know what you can do with the defensive tackles if you want to run some stunts, what have you. The confusion you can create, I think, can alleviate some of these pass rushing issues they have. And if you get the quarterback holding the ball a little bit long because you're trying to see who's going to actually run, who's run, you can even run. As we see as many times these teams running simulated pressure against the Eagles, they can do the same thing as well too and drop everything back because you're trying to pick up where each guy's going to go. So I think that's going to help the pass rush, especially until you get Nolan Smith back, and or you see one of these other guys starts to pick up and get more pressure that way. I'm really looking forward to it. And the benefit of it is, if you still worry about the coverage aspect of it, yeah, Dean's not the best cover guy. He improved before that injury. He improved that way. But if you still want to bring him in pressure wise or just have him go to fight, okay, it's cool. You have Bond and Campbell that are able to go run in the backfield and run with these running backs and still do it in tight ends and still do a decent job. So there's so much you can do and move them around. So I really can't wait to see them use that. I would love to see them use it more than what the base defense they have right now. I know it's tough to do that, but I would love to see that just because I think you can get a lot of good matchups and you can get a lot more pressure right there than what you have currently. They're currently using.
Could be an interesting way to look at it, man. I can't wait to see what they end up doing there with Nakobe Dean. I tell you what, though, it looks bleak to me for him because with the injury, I mean, John keeps pointing this out too. I think the other element is this isn't like an ACL or like one of those. This is a much worse injury where he's going to have to prove also that he's back healthy enough to play at a. He played at a very high level last year, so I think that's another big part of it as well. How does he look returning back to the field? I think is a big part of it.
Yeah, and also get that contract. He wants to get on that
Yeah,
field as soon as possible too.
Contract here.
Yeah.
So he wants to. And the thing is, sometimes the players say, "Oh wow, I'm ready to go," but then in the back of their mind, like I'm worried about Nate. Just by looking like in the little small moments you get when you see him running around or what have you, he's got
Well,
confidence.
he's looked great since the spring, man, running around.
He was running down that sideline. It's like,
Yeah.
that form looks good. Like he has confidence on that knees, not worried about like the get up and everything. And even if it's not true game speed action running around, so it looks like he's confident enough to run on there. He's good enough to do that. Ramp on the trust conditions.
Nakobe, Chris. When he was hurt, like most guys, when they're hurt, they sort of recede, and you don't even see them in the locker room. Nakobe's always there. He's always talking. He's always in a good mood. Yesterday it was interesting because he's got the practice window started, and he was the shortest I've ever seen him. He was like hyper focused, and he started getting all the questions about the practice window starting, and the first one was, it felt great to get out there and the guys actually play some football. That's it. And he kept getting pushed on. Is he ready to go though? Do you need a ramp up time? And he basically said, I've been cleared. I'm ready to go. Basically, that's it. And he claims he's ready to go. We'll see. It is a very serious injury. The numbers with that injury from the history, but everybody's different. It's not great, but we'll see how he recovers from it. I've said it and I can't say it enough. Vic loves Nakobe Dean, loves him as a player. So that factors into it if he's healthy, if he thinks he can help. But they're not playing three linebackers. They're playing edge rushers and linebackers. And if they think Zach Bond, I mean, the edge rushing problems could play into it. If they don't think.
The part of me with the Bond thing is like, I think he could do the edge too, but man, he is a good linebacker.
Well, yeah.
You're going to take him out of that,
Yeah, I can see it more. I can see it more being like, hey, if you do have them all on the field at first, I can see them standing out like Nakobe and Bond being off the ball, Campbell lurking in a way where you put him maybe as he doesn't declare his first, but he's getting to the line and then he picks his spot late, tries to time it up that way. I think it's one of those things in terms.
Well, it's also, you could have Zach playing off ball on first and second down and being an edge rusher on third down. and the obvious passing situation. He can toggle between two positions. He's good enough to do that. I don't think Vic thinks Jihaad's advanced enough to do that now. At least he's expressed that. He expressed that this week again. But Zach, I think he thinks could do it. The question is, he's so good as a stacked linebacker. Do you want to? But it all comes into it. It's about, all right, if you don't believe in Azeez Ojulari and Jalix Hunt, maybe you do it. But if you do believe in them, you probably don't do it. So that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, when it comes to Bond, I want him off the ball, looking around, surveying the whole field, because he's done too well with that. The way he baits quarterbacks into throwing areas where they don't see it, the way he influences them, like the way he'll start to shade one way, and then the route is running right behind him, and then he'll feel it, and then run the other way and try to make a deflection or run with that. Or like I mentioned beforehand, when it comes to running down the field with those tight ends and running backs, I want him. I feel more comfortable with him doing that. And not to say Campbell can't do it, not to say Nakobe can't do it, but I know with Campbell, he's still younger. He's still trying to get the feel. He's done well in those opportunities, but still a few games in. And Nakobe, we've seen from the past when he comes out and coming off that injury too, even though I think he'll be fine. I think Bond's their best coverage guy. So keeping him in that, like, I'd rather say, like, personally, I'd rather go, Campbell, listen, you're doing well in this. We need you to take one for us. Go back to that edge a little bit, or try to rush that way too. I know Bond can do it to the edge. He just seems like a weapon in that second level to try to move back around sideline to sideline. I'd love to see him get the whole view of the field and let him try to make a play off of that. Because who would have thought we've been seeing this 2 years now after they signed him? That's the part I still can't believe we're talking about him like this.
No, it's crazy. It's got to be a book to be written about that. It's going to criticize Mickey Loomis, that book.
Yeah.
How do you have that guy in the building for 4 years and not notice anything?
And Mickey Loomis be added to the Eagles Hall of Fame based off the trades they made, and then also
he's going to be in the Eagles Ring of Honor.
He's the Ed Wade of Mickey Loomis equals Ed Wade with the Houston Astros. The two of them together is like it's crazy.
I didn't know Mickey Loomis worked for the Eagles. He didn't. He's in the Ring of Honor.
Awesome.
All right, Chris, good stuff, man. You're just your prediction for the game this weekend, man. Tough opponent in the Broncos. Not, I don't think you could go to sleep on them. They obviously have a good defense. You're talking about passing game a lot this week, and they have a good secondary. They got Pat Surtain, obviously. How do you see the game playing out this weekend?
I should probably think the Eagles win by a double digit. I think it's 10. I think the Eagles win by 10. You look at that, the Broncos, short week. Hey, you got a short week. You're going, it's not full West Coast to East Coast, but it's still a 2-hour difference in terms of that.
Yep.
You've been on the road a lot. Yeah. I look at this and say, I think it's a good spot for the Eagles. Not take them lightly. The offense needs to, this is a good game to establish the offense. Okay, you guys were talking
really?
everything else. I think it's a good game for them to do it.
Those edge rushers, man.
The quickest edge rushers off the edge. Like I'm not saying it's gonna be easy. I think they outlast them and they really wear them, affect them. This is a game I see tempo. This is a good game to run a lot of tempo, wear them down early, and then so if I can get them thinking. So they won't. I don't think when you look at the downfield things, it's not going to be one of those things where you're looking like, okay, they're going to attack. The ball's going to have to come out quick, and we might have to see the dreaded wide receiver screens as part of that a little bit more. But I think the Eagles can establish themselves a little bit and frustrate the Broncos to the point where, and I think the defense.
Here's what I think, Chris. I think Nick Bonito is the best player a lot of people don't know about in the NFL. Yeah. And I think Vic Fangio is going to put Bo Nix in a blender. So I think that I'm with you. They're going to win the game, but they're going to win the game because the defense is going to make that kid look bad, I think.
Yeah. Oh, this is they open. Oh, this is cover 2. It's no problem. Pick. I
don't think he's ready for what Vic is going to unleash on him. But we'll see. At C Franklin News. Make sure you follow Chris on the X platform. Read him at nj.com. Does a tremendous job there. I will see you Sunday, my friend.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys very much. Y'all have a good one.
Hey, bud.